In Bali, people say that at the dawn of time, the human spirit gave life to monkey masks. Some became men, others remained monkeys and became their slaves. But one day, men forgot the mysterious force which had given them life. To find it, modern man studies the bodies of monkeys, uses them in experiments, and never finds anything. The ancients, growing up in traditional cultures, didn't need to cut up a monkey to find out about themselves. For them, the human spirit was caged in this animal body, a cage from which it sought to escape, a cage locked by the four elements of nature: air, water, fire, and earth. As everything in nature is logical, the monkeys born under the earth sign live with their feet firmly on the earth. In Africa, in Kenya, dog-headed baboons chose to live on the ground on terra firma. Trees are not made for them. They only climb them to eat, to protect themselves from leopards, and to sleep. According to African traditions, there are three ways of receiving the benefits of earth. The first, most primitive way consists in possessing its wealth like a good-for-nothing. It's obvious that nature made this monkey to be a hooligan. The baboon's voracity is their driving force all day and all night too. Using a powerful light to pierce the mysteries of their nocturnal habits, we learnt that there are two distinct phases. During the first, they are agitated, intent on displaying their sexual prowess. And then, at about 2 o'clock in the morning, the second phase begins. Much calmer, the baboons finally get to sleep all huddled together, somewhat uncomfortably for some. This is what having a highly developed gregarious instinct means. By day and night, baboons always live in groups with 20 to 200 members, rather like gangs of hooligans. These monkeys are not generally considered to be particularly intelligent. However, their gregarious instinct is so marked that it enables them to pass on information on a genius level. Ideas which in their cerebral night appear sometimes very bright. We've observed this hooligan genius in the north of Kenya close to Lake Naivasha, where baboons driven out of many areas because of their raids on crops have been relocated. In this area, we noted the emergence of totally new feeding habits. It started very gradually. Like all the sedentary animals, the baboons settled near the waterholes. Initially, they were low down the pecking order, fragile, wary. But after a few weeks, the primate specialists began to see them eating meat every day. Baboons do not normally eat meat. The explanation apparently is that as there are no carnivorous big game predators in this region, the baboons have developed their taste for meat and become incredibly voracious. In just a few months, the baboons switched over to eating meat at every meal. Firstly, they taught themselves to hunt, and these skills were passed on to the whole pack. They even perfected specific techniques. Their behavior has changed completely. Now the baboons do not hesitate to travel over 3 kilometers to hunt for at least 2 or 3 hours. Cooperating intelligently, they relay each other at specific places to beat for hares they catch live and then savor by devouring the belly first. When they were relocated in Kenya, the acquisition and transmission of new habits were observed. Just like, due to a mysterious change, Homo erectus also learnt to hunt and pick up food. How do they find the holes at first glance? Are they holes made by termites, snails, or earthworms? Baboons learn from examples, just as the native children learn by watching how things are done by their parents. This is how they learn to find treasures hidden in Mother Earth's pockets and extract each precious item without difficulty. This moment is sacred, the last hour before night. The Kenya waterfalls reveal their sacred nature. All along the river and in all the waterholes in the area, it is the only hour when you cannot hear meat being chewed. This goose is fearless. Nobody gets eaten at the drinking time when all the animals come to the water. Everyone is on the lookout. Even if they behave like hooligans and spend all their time plundering, baboons take advantage of the ceasefire to observe. They drink while taking careful stock of everything going on and assess their own strength. They also observe the strengths of their friends and their enemies, and their intended prey. A good hooligan knows everything, and above all is aware. War breaks out again the next day. Is this fight for real or a game? Basically both. Initially, there are the small brawls of teenagers, a subtle training in learning their own strengths and those of their adversaries. Later, as they grow, the fights become more serious. Social predominance, especially among the males, has to be asserted, defended, and reasserted all the time. Strife is constant. Anything goes to grab power. Fights are not random. They are generated by repeated taunts and frustrations. Baboons live in an environment in which threats and submissions are everyday events from childhood. Although males usually take the greatest care of them, even babies can be the victims of this violence. For here, infanticide is a way of life for some males. Indeed, like other monkeys who live in harems, chiefs carve out their place with violence, and the brawls which herald the arrival of a new master are politically important moments for the females. The difference here with baboons is that the females are also likely to lose the child fertilized by the previously dominant male. If the baby is not yet weaned, it will be killed by the new chief. Is the ceaseless use of physical force the only way to grab and keep power? Not always. From childhood, baboons learn that authority can also be acquired by alliances, associations and coalitions. As none of these pacts is stable for long and it's always necessary to renegotiate, this preoccupation is virtually political. Earth monkeys are brought up with this attitude. To be a good baboon, you have to have long teeth. When the infants take part in fights, they are generally too young to be maltreated. To resemble this swaggering great brute, they start to affirm their virility early, very early. Then, when teenagers, they seek their leader, their bodyguard to some extent. One of these teenagers, to show submission to the dominant male, tries to present his posterior to the chief, who refuses the responsibility. He is just not interested. But he does agree to become the protector of the second. This baby is learning, also by experimenting, just how important the art of grooming will be in its life. If baboons perform the grooming ritual so often, it is because it has many functions. Initially medical, to detach old skin, eliminate lice and parasites and so on. But baby also learns that these interminable mutual grooming sessions are a wonderful way to get to know the females better. If the mothers have a court of several males, all on very friendly terms, it is because the males protect them and their babies. You need protection in a hooligan society. Babies learn about sex and procreation very early on. The hierarchies of sexual intercourse in baboons is complicated to say the least, but one thing is sure. If it's a male and you're a female, all you can do is submit. In addition to its medical and social role, grooming also has a tactile function. By touching each other, baboons gain confidence. It's a means of communication which dispels tensions within the group. Earth monkeys meet up in large gatherings, like Scottish clans. It is their sheer numbers which help them develop their range of skills. Predators and gatherers, members of the same large tribe, baboons became hooligans to organize their survival. In the countries of the famous tom-toms of Burundi, an old man said that during his lifetime he had never needed to go to see the neighboring village. What he meant was that his people lived in such close communion with the spirits of the earth that any journey seemed superfluous. The natives never met the mountain gorillas, which live above them at altitudes of up to 3,500 meters in a strange universe of giant vegetation and fog. They respected the gorilla from a distance, for it was the main character in many legends. He too belonged to the first earth sign. Gorillas took their due, but gently. In that time, gorilla hunting did not exist. Then it became fashionable to make ashtrays out of stuffed gorilla hands. And household lamps out of their skulls. A stuffed gorilla was always welcome in a museum, and if, somebody was selling a live baby, there was always a zoo ready to buy it. Gorilla hunting and the black market for collectors started when the white men arrived. The tales of explorers from the 19th century made us believe that King Kong was a monster. It was only recently rehabilitated following patient observations. The horrible, bloodthirsty man was only a peaceful parent, 2 meters tall and 200 kilos in weight, totally dedicated to protecting his children. Now we are in a national park on the slopes of the Virunga volcanoes. Here, mountain gorillas can give birth in safety. The females protect their progeny with ferocious care. To repel intruders, they turn their backs and utter strident screams like singing exercises. At the beginning, only close relatives, brothers and sisters, were allowed to approach the child. If you are faced with a gorilla, especially a mother and her child, never make sudden gestures. To avoid a violent response and gradually win their confidence, one technique consists in going down on all fours close to them, to become as small as possible, and to growl very softly like the kids do when they feel safe. In fact, a side benefit of making this film was that we also learnt to grunt. After we had made our approach, a mountain monkey paused in the enormous efforts it was making to feed and came to look at its own reflection in the camera lens. Its baby was not interested in its reflection. The monkey children love to play and pull a special face called the play face, a sort of smile executed without showing the teeth, accompanied by jerky growls. Leaving her baby to fend for itself, Mum Gorilla decided to stay with the lens as she could see herself in it more clearly than in a puddle. Viewed from the other side of the camera, this contact with a huge anthropoid was unforgettable. Her eyes penetrate your very core and reveal something deeply human. Unlike almost all other animals, baby gorillas can recognize their own image by the time they are 5 or so. These large mountain monkeys, with whom we share 97% of our genetic makeup, are the last of their species and always threatened by extinction. To identify gorillas, primate specialists prepare identity cards using the lines around their noses. These lines are unique to each individual, just like our fingerprints, which gorillas' fingers don't have. And, very rare in animals, gorillas use their fingers to wipe their nose, just like humans. As for blowing their nose, that is reserved for man, whose children can only manage the delicate operation after the age of 3, and some never. The second earth sign, known to wise Africans, is that in which one tills the ground like a conscientious man. In monkeys, the only monkey of this kind is the chimpanzee, a specialist in tools, able to work like a craftsman. We met chimpanzees in Gambia and again in Tanzania. Depending on where they live, the food chimpanzees eat is extremely varied. They are basically vegetarian, sometimes supplemented by termites and ants. Even if the distance which separates two groups is only a few hundred kilometers, there are obvious differences in the way they acquire their feeding habits and the sort of tools they use to help them. For example, this chimpanzee decided today would be the day to gather the fruit from the baobab trees. The whole tribe agrees. And because his venture will be successful, this chimpanzee will durably influence his tribe's group memory and will be granted the title of precursor. The problem is that nobody's ever tried the fruits of this tree before and have even less idea about how to open them. The precursor's mission is to set the example. He will illustrate how, in a community, a technique is developed by one individual and then transmitted from generation to generation by training and imitation. This does not mean that under identical conditions to open the same fruit, another chimpanzee community would proceed in the same way or even succeed. The precursor now has a responsibility. The others all wait to see what happens. In experimental conditions, chimpanzees answer many tests admirably. They are capable of abstract thought, intention, invention, some calculations, and can memorize certain places. But nature's tests are never programmed, and our precursor must find the answer spontaneously. Will the precursor lose his bet? No. Here is the solution. This is how our chimpanzee became the precursor of its group. According to primate specialists, this training is a cultural behavior close to the way in which humanity evolved. Chimpanzees are currently at the point of animal evolution at which crop harvesting starts to be a very important aspect of social life. It took us many hours of filming to capture these images demonstrating the intelligence of chimpanzees. Every day, we went to the islands in the River Gambia in Senegal. We filmed from platforms built on the river, so the chimpanzees could not get near us. These monkeys may seem harmless, but you have to watch out for an attack. The old males especially can react unpredictably for mysterious reasons. There are many reasons for their irascibility. They can be of a sentimental nature. Chimpanzees are affected by the death of their friends, are curious and know the meaning of love, so why not anger too? And when they are angry, they do not mess around. This adult male reigns over 30 subjects. One day, we were filming one of the babies. Apparently, its father was not happy about that. It took us some time to realize he was very angry. Too late. The male charged, and look what happened. 2 chimpanzees landed in the boat, and we only just had time to escape. It was one of the precursors who had jumped on board. What imagination! To bring the boat closer to the bank, he pulled on the painter. With the boat held hostage, we started to panic. All our filming equipment was on board. When our invaders had calmed down, we made a body count. Gérard, Vienne, the dominant male of the human expedition, had 2 broken ribs, and the list of material destroyed was impressive. Primate specialists say that chimpanzees and man have much in common. Their ability to recognize their own image and signs on a photograph, to count up to 5, to understand colors, and asymmetric cerebral hemispheres, the origin of reading and writing faculties. Only man uses tools better. But man has become the slave of his tools, whereas chimpanzees have great fun in discovering and inventing them. Branches to fish out termites and ants from their underground nests. Wooden clubs as weapons in the event of danger. Leaves which they bunch into sponges to collect water from hollows. Stones to break tough husks or as weapons. The discovery of a new tool is pure pleasure. The do-it-yourself meetings can last whole days with, from time to time, around us, moments rich with a host of intelligent activities. Pharmaceutical, for example. This chimpanzee is drinking the urine of another tribe member to clear up a sexually transmitted disease. For him, urine is a very effective disinfectant. Many pastoral peoples use it too. Some new fruit has just arrived. You can almost hear the ideas of what to do with it churning away in the chimp's brains. There are hardliners and wets. Everyone is thinking. Here, a new precursor has found an anthill. It is hard as concrete. This apprentice craftsman has discovered the workbench. Once the solution has been found, everyone proceeds in the same way as mankind. There are energetic participants and the others, the born lazy. While some bang away on their stone, the others go to sleep. But the precursor is obstinate. He won't rest until he has found the right stone and the right gesture. Sri Lanka, Java, the islands of Indonesia, all lands torn from the body of the Indian subcontinent long before the dawn of humanity. However, the legend of Ramayana in the Hindu Bible relates this event dating back to the time when monkeys were the only protagonists in world history and the heroes. In fact, the monkeys of this faraway past have been born under the third earth sign, in which you dominate the earth so well that it sends you to the skies. At that time, the man hidden in the monkey had not yet emerged. He was still connected to the sky and spoke the language of the birds. In memory of this time, monkeys are revered in the Indian islands. Species as varied as the crimson monkeys, macaques and hanumans all live together. Here you can see situations impossible elsewhere in the world. All these different monkeys play and rest together and have friendly contacts, like this crimson monkey which likes to be groomed by a macaque. See no evil, speak no evil, hear no evil. 3 famous counsels of wisdom by the Buddha, famous throughout the world thanks to 3 monkeys which shut their eyes, their mouths and their ears. These 3 monkeys were illustrated by crab macaques, for these animals with their beards and moustaches look exactly like 3 sages. In Hindu astrology, crab macaques were placed under the influence of the planet Saturn, which gives them the appearance of an austere patriarch. The planet makes these monkeys very earth-centered, miserly and petty. Crab macaques live in big groups structured in castes. The future social rank of this baby in the tribe is already predetermined by the caste of its family, handed down from generation to generation. Its access to food will also be determined by its ancestors, depending on whether they belong to the dominant or subordinate castes. In Bali, the spectacle of monkeys who have become the ridiculous guardians of sites with impressive pasts is unique. Here, people say that each macaque born becomes the custodian of the 13,000 temples. According to Hindu tradition, the history of the universe is punctuated by cataclysms which put an end to one world and give rise to another. This is how the reign of the monkeys ended and that of man began. It is also how the cosmos erases each humanity and creates a new and better one. The most recent cataclysm was the flood, when the Earth moved before the constellation of Cancer. Cancer, crab. This is why these monkeys are called crab macaques, for even if they are supposed to adore shellfish, nobody has ever seen one eat a crab. The planet Saturn does have some positive points. It endows a quality which, although not pleasant, is nevertheless invaluable: providence. Crab macaques eat everything and cache their food in secret places so they have something for a rainy day. When evening falls, the custodians of the temples hand over their responsibilities to other mysterious monkeys. In Bali, every dance has its secret. This one represents the drama of Ramayana, where all the protagonists are, once again, monkeys. The demon king has removed Sita, life, the wife of Rama, the sun, and taken her to the kingdom of the dead. Rama tries to save her by fighting the demon king, but loses. Will life be saved? This is when Hanuman, the god monkey, intervenes. Son of the wind and a goddess monkey, he is a musician and a warrior gifted with extraordinary powers. But will he succeed? The problem with this god is that he asks too many questions and hesitates. His mood wavers between enthusiasm and despair, suspense, and finally a happy ending. At the worst moment, in the nick of time, he makes a comeback and overcomes the worst adversities. Hanuman rescues life and returns it to the sun. The moral is simple: no cataclysm can conquer humanity if it keeps the meaning of life. For Tibetans, as for many Indian people, the descendant of this god is still alive. It is the Hanuman monkey. It has the gestures of an aristocrat, contemplative but merry. Like a noble warrior, his body is slim, his hands are fine, his legs are long. Very nimble, he can jump up to 5 meters, and his falls are vertiginous. Like the god Hanuman, he asks many questions. His long tail, shaped like a question mark, is 1 meter long and, according to Hindu sages, the ultimate answer to the great metaphysical questions. As you go through life, you ask more and more questions until the day when you ask no more. For the true answer is this question mark. Like the god Hanuman, he is an only child at birth and blessed by the goddesses, since all the females want to caress the newborn baby. His father, like the wind father of Hanuman the god, takes no part in bringing the child up. He's far too busy. Do these similarities between the Hanuman monkey and a god created by man have a meaning? Not for the primate specialist, of course. However, in India, people do go further. 9 million years ago, this monkey and man would have had the same direct ancestor called Ramapithecus. Thus, for the Indians, the Hanuman monkey is our beautiful mirror image, our closest animal brother. Hanumans are our last earth monkeys. They spend 80% of their time on the ground, where they often walk on 2 legs. They travel several kilometers a day in search of food. They are busy during the morning or late in the afternoon, and always have a siesta during the heat. Grooming is important in their social life and takes up to 5 hours a day. Hanumans live in many areas: Tibet, Nepal, Kashmir, Sri Lanka and the Himalayas. Widespread in India, they can be found near homes and in the temples where they reign as masters. Both curious and ferocious, they stay close to man as if they know they are protected by the gods. But not for long. Indeed, the swelling tide of humanity tolerates less and less all those thefts by the Hanumans. Even more serious, they are threatened by the destruction of their habitat as agriculture spreads. All these question marks are disappearing and cannot be restored. Humanity has stopped asking questions about the meaning of life, and so the blood of the earth is starting to flow abundantly. The monkey's territory is continuously reduced and replaced by a new policy: lands without people, or people without lands. Mankind is dominating nature, but at the cost of 15 million hectares of forest destroyed each and every year. When our brother monkeys disappear forever, man will remain on the planet Earth alone. A Hindu proverb says, monkeys cry over others, never about themselves. So perhaps it's not the monkeys we should feel sorry for, but man. When the next cataclysm comes, will there still exist, somewhere in our hearts, a god monkey to save life? The first live in a low forest of Brazil, which the sun penetrates easily to the ground. For these monkeys, fire is a small flame. The Indians of Amazonia say that nature conceived them with the energy of the first rays of the day. The first time we saw them, we wondered if they really were monkeys. The way they cling to the branches reminded us more of wildcats, tiny lions the natives call the tamarin lion. It is one of the smallest monkeys in the world. Adults weigh just 600 grams. Cuddly, too cuddly. Popular pets, they have been so heavily poached that they have become extremely rare. Only about 300 specimens have survived. One extraordinary characteristic of tamarins is that the females always have twins and only one couple reproduces. The others abstain and help to bring up the babies. Their reproductive instinct is sacrificed for the good of the group. In these conditions, it's easy to understand why the survival of the species is threatened. When siesta time comes, tamarins have to protect themselves from everything, from birds of prey and the solar fire of the afternoon. They are just the start of monkeys of fire. They will not become the lions of monkeys. Children should not play with fire. Fire is dangerous. Fire is for grown-ups. In a floating base camp on Lake Mamuroa, near the Amazon, the camera crew and the scientists are very busy. Their main objective is to accustom the primates to the presence of man so that they can be studied and filmed. You have to travel by water, in a sublime disorder of forests and jungles, to find a larger monkey. A monkey born under the second sign of fire that the Amazonian Indians call the energy of the sun at midday, when the star is at its climax. But it's clear from the outset that the monkey which would like to be the lion here has missed out. The howler monkey is more like a stupid dog. It would like to roar like a lion, but this is the result. A raucous bark, more like a growl. However, this is the way the howler monkeys salute the dawn. Every morning, the males repeat these noises several times. All the groups call in, and a deafening din haunts the forest. Not very nimble, even rather slow, the howler monkey never moves away from his harem from 10 to 15 individuals. It doesn't travel more than 500 meters a day, just enough to find the food within reach, tough leaves or buds, flowers and fruit. And a very bad jumper. He hardly uses his prehensile tail to move, but rather like a fifth hand, for safety. Always climb with 2 pressure points. It's less dangerous. Everything about howler monkeys is slow, even their reflexes. If this youngster were to fall from a tree, the mother would take ages before deciding to go down to recover it. Every evening, after the animals of the night have taken over the forest again, the howler monkeys sing their strange symphony, identical to the one they sing in the morning, this time to celebrate the setting of the sun. The third fire sign is the energy of the sun as it sets. For the Indians, this is the energy of men who, while falling asleep, go to meet their inner fire, a sort of midnight sun. A monkey born under this sign exists in the center of Brazil. Strictly localized between Rio Japura and the Amazon in a forest half-flooded 6 months a year, where you can only get around in dugouts in the inextricable labyrinths. Here, the air is filled with mosquitoes and the water is infested with piranhas. According to Indian legends, the quest for the monkey of the setting sun is a mystical journey which only those with the wisdom necessary to understand the fire of hell can accomplish. If not, the traveler will find bad luck. You should never play with fire. Indeed, this monkey almost discouraged all the scientists who tried to study it. We were the first to film it in freedom. After 60 days waiting, we finally saw a head, red as a fire, uakari. This, the strangest monkey on earth, only lives at the top of the trees, 50 meters up, close to the sun. Very lively, it's so savage that we know very little about it, but it seems to do nothing in the same way as other monkeys. For example, this fruit it is holding is its only food and only exists in this flooded forest. The shell, which contains energy-packed seeds, is extremely strong. To open it, it has to use its hyper-developed canines and powerful jaws. During the floods, these fruit fall into water and are pulled by the current. For this reason, the uakaris move around a lot to find their food and scream their contact cries all the day long so as not to lose touch with the pack in the forest. Other characteristics of the uakari are its original tail, which it uses like a pendulum, bright blue eyes, a large brain which gives him this round head, and especially this red face. The Brazilians think it looks like an alcoholic and call it the English monkey because of their colonizing competitors' supposedly immoderate taste for gin. In fact, this red color is due to high blood vascularization, which disappears when the uakari dies. But the Tupi Indians explain that the uakari's head is red because this monkey possesses the meanders of hell. They believe that nature has hidden in its brain the ultimate secret of the power of the element fire, a secrecy as difficult to break as its tough fruit. In the south of Brazil, below the Iguazu Falls, the Guarani Indians say that before creating humans, nature experimented with monkeys, prototypes as it were. Nature made several live models. For example, starting from a spark of the great light, nature created the battery-powered monkey, so small that it's in competition with birds. The same size, the same branches, the same food, and a similar cry rich in ultrasounds. The brush marmoset is a cousin of the tamarin lion, just as primitive and even smaller, 400 grams. Size, hardly 18 centimeters, not including the tail. More aggressive than the tamarin, he wriggles impatiently with the energy of the rising sun. Like a baby lion, he loves the meat of insects. The bigger, the better. The victims fall, one after the other, however different. This small predator only quietens down when it's sleeping. High voltage, live current. It seems likely to burn out all the time. Nature's second prototype before making man was in the jungle in southern Brazil, the capuchin sapaju. This one was lit with the spark of mischief. At the beginning, the descendants of the conquistadors thought it was a devil because of its black face, and then, in a swing of a pinion, this small monkey weighing 3 kilos with its back-to-front tonsure was christened the capuchin in reference to the capuchin monks. So the monkey changed from an imp to a monk. Perhaps both are mischievous. Certainly the capuchin is by far the most intelligent monkey in the New World. To communicate with its fellows, it has a very big repertory of signs, gestures and calls. This tiny monk is a nature specialist and applies his mind to finding in the forest all the food sources that others cannot. The Indians thought of it as the forest cleaner. For during his intense activity, the capuchin cannot meet a dead branch without breaking it and then throwing it to the ground. Normal. The forest is its table, and the table of a gourmet must always be scrupulously clean. Nature's third attempt in southern Brazil was the moriqui. Nature created it with a glance to burn off sex. The result is a totally placid, phlegmatic creature. Moriquis are the largest monkeys in South America, reaching 10 to 12 kilos when adult. From branch to branch, they move several miles a day. For them, traffic is always fluid. Lifts are natural, plentiful, and never break down. If moriquis travel so much, it's not only to find their food, which simply consists of leaves and abounds everywhere. No, they just seem to like moving around, to see people, to see the world. Moriquis eat upside down. To eat this way, without losing your head, you need two things. Firstly, a prehensile tail. Much more powerful than the howler monkeys, this tail can be used as a single grip point and also like a fifth limb to move more quickly, like a spider. To eat upside down, you also need a digestion with a slow fuse, i.e. a stomach like the ruminants. All ruminants are gentle creatures, and the moriquis are no exception. In their groups, males do not compete for the females, as the females have their word to say too. Scientists say that this equality of the sexes exists because the females are as large as the males, and that, over time, they always choose the least aggressive males. This means that male babies are born already knowing that if you are gentle with the girls, you are more likely to attract them. For once, the Indians say the same thing as the scientists. Moriquis exist to teach men and women that a life without the war of the sexes is possible. A life in which sensual fire creates harmony, where fur grooming rules, not only to get rid of parasites, but also to eliminate any fumbling touches. Moriquis like to touch and be touched. It's so good. When you see these hippie monkeys, you wonder if the famous law of the jungle was not in fact invented by man. "80% of the Atlantic forest, which used to cover southern Brazil, was destroyed by man. Animal life is disappearing from the New World, leaving these small monkeys as dying sparks. Life doomed as the forest to cut down. To find the other fire monkeys, you have to go to Africa. To reach the monkey full of the firepower of the midday sun, the path is difficult. In Ethiopia, you have to climb extinct volcanoes on the edge of the Rift Valley at an altitude of 3,600 meters. Above the plains where live the hierarchies herders, deposed princes endowed with a great sense of hospitality and guardians of many traditions. Ethiopia played a decisive part in the mysterious history of mankind. Here you find remains of ancient Great Egypt, where monkeys figure on many monuments and whose bodies were sometimes carefully embalmed. The geladas also deposed kings, related to a race 4 million years old. This species is the only one to have lingered on from ancient Egypt. Exterminated everywhere else in Africa, the geladas found their last refuge in these inaccessible cliffs. Cliffs to which they cling, as though keeping the memory of the large tribes of biblical times and their chief king. So, in the monkey universe, the gelada plays the part of the lion. On the cliffs, the geladas form immense packs of males and females of all ages. At first glance, you would say the crowd was disorganized, but you would be wrong. Social relationships are precise and codified. Each pack is structured in harems, composed of distinct subgroups. The Egyptians noticed that the gelada possesses all the characteristics a large tribe needs to survive for centuries. Its hands, the most skillful of all the primates after man, and a sex, which will be used several times a day when the females are on heat. Lastly, the ancients saw in this solar monkey all the symbols of majesty: a golden coat and intelligent eyes, and irises flecked with gold. A senatorial bearing, and fully controlled movements, even if somewhat arrogant and conceited. At adolescence, the males join the bachelor clan. From now on, their goal is to reach the females and reproduce. To do that, they have two solutions. The gentle way is to court the females of a harem for several years. The masterful way is to steal the harem by conquering the reigning chief, choosing the right moment, neither too late nor too early. The bachelors spend long hours watching the females. They wait, patiently, and prepare. They can take up to 5 years to observe everything closely. Locate the harems. Identify the chiefs. Which chiefs are already weak or becoming so? Which females can be influenced? The herders, who have been watching the geladas for much longer than the primate specialists, claim that, during its long hours of meditation, the young male projects itself into the future. It imagines that it is already chief and the father of many children. And if he believes it strongly enough, it is sure to happen. In monkeys and herders, dreams do come true. Something you dream can become quite as real as something you see. The hierarchies herders say that a tribe which does not dream anymore disappears. Savage, the geladas flee when we arrive. To to approach them, we followed the rules. We never looked at them head-on, and we never went further into the territory than a set limit. Would you believe it? Although these toughs have the teeth of carnivores, the geladas are 100% vegetarian. They are the only high-altitude monkeys who eat such basic food, but here the choice is limited. The geladas basically graze grass, sitting down. This is why the old ones called it the sitting monkey. Like somebody who writes or calculates, like a scribe, the Egyptians noted the dexterity with which geladas select the tenderest blades of grass. They can do this not only because their thumb is opposable with the palm, as in man, but also because each hand has 14 joints. 28 if you count both hands. 28 is the number of days in the lunar month. This is why this monkey was sometimes chosen to symbolize Thoth, the god of the magicians who acts with the precision that the subtle magnetic influences of the moon require. Today the geladas continue to approach man. They even mingle peacefully with the herds of the hamaras to share their pastures. The dominant male does not like to be separated from his companions. When traveling, he wants them to follow closely. If any of them hang back, he chivies them along, and in theory they obey. But the statute of dominant is never acquired definitively. Often, the old male looks at the scattered females with concern. Are they still following him? He can never be sure. As he grows old, he loses control of his harem, for the females are more powerful than you might believe. Mothers and daughters know each other very well and can act together if necessary. When one of them decides to disobey, and that the chief, angry, is about to take appropriate sanctions, it can happen that not only a female refuses to follow him, but faces up for a fight. Some of the others may even lend a hand. These domestic fights are scrupulously memorized by the bachelors who are lurking nearby. One day, that will be useful. Indeed, the dominating male is worried. He feels spied on more and more. One day, they will pick on him. A young male will challenge him. Sooner or later, he will be dethroned. When he was younger, he had forgotten that this outcome was inevitable. Geladas are the only monkeys to have this triangle of red skin on their hearts, a sexual signal. The scientists explain that the signal is located on the chest and not on the buttocks as in all other monkeys, as it is the only place where it is visible because of their favorite position, sitting down to eat grass. The herders say that the gelada shows man the triangle of fire. They also call it the monkey with the bleeding heart in reference to Christ. Ethiopia was one of the first nations to adopt Christianity. And so perhaps only the poets give us the right vision of this animal world, so close to us. During the day, the temperature never exceeds 20 degrees Celsius. The nights are very cold and the rain falls in sheets. When the time comes to confront the elements of water, it is a moment of respite for the old male in its fight to conserve his power. How can he stop the rain putting out the fire of the geladas? His solution is to increase the firepower by huddling together. The Egyptians interpreted the dawn cries of the monkeys as an incantation to the sun to come out of darkness. Geladas still sing, and so the sun continues to rise. As radiant as the water was dark, it will restore life to the world. In his harem, the male resumes his authority. His favorites groom him and he becomes the tribal chief again, clinging to the empty trappings of his power, still believing he has the divine right to rule, when in fact it is the females who run the harem. Macho rule was perhaps essential in the development of the old tribes. It seems obsolete today, but the monkey of the fire of the midday sun is still alive. At the top of these extinct volcanoes, higher up, there is nothing. Much further south, in the forest which borders Lake Naivasha, Black Africa also has monkeys born under the sign of the fire of the setting sun. They are both black as night and white as day. Deep black leather gloves, black and white fur sleeves. At the end of the 19th century, over 200,000 skins of these small monkeys were sent to the Western world to become fur-lined coats, mantles, bonnets, hoods, and other frivolities. Beauty has its downside. The Abyssinian colobus monkey paid its reputation as the most elegant monkey in Africa dearly. Cut to pieces, stripped, its name comes from the Greek word for mutilated because it has no thumb. Colobus monkeys raise their young with babysitters. All the females in the group help out. Here, life in the harem is problem-free. The only moments of aggressiveness are those where the young bachelors challenge and conquer the dominant male after a short fight. Peaceful, colobus monkeys have an original system of digestion similar to ruminants. They eat in a rush, storing leaves from the trees, and then digest slowly and calmly away from danger from predators. Observers often distinguish between omnivorous monkeys and philophagous monkeys like colobus monkeys which eat only leaves. According to primate specialists, the omnivores are more alert, aggressive and with a complex social life, whereas for philophagous monkeys, life is much more peaceful. Primate specialists also explain that the digestive system also influences the development of intelligence. For them, omnivorous monkeys are in fact more advanced than ruminant monkeys. African medicine men claim that the scientists project their own definition of intelligence onto the monkeys. They say that the brain of all mammals, including man, is a metamorphosis of the stomach. They reason that brains and intestines have the same convolutions. So, just as with their intestines, colobus monkeys digest their food slowly, with their brains they durably assimilate perceptions of the surrounding world. Does slow assimilation mean that they are not intelligent? Doesn't the ruminant digestive process lead to a form of wisdom? Colobus monkeys are very agile. The speed at which they move seems out of proportion to their sedentary life inside small territories. However, thanks to their speed, they escape their winged predators. These monkeys, born under the sign of fire, spend most of their time close to the sun, perched in the trees. They go down to the ground to move from one small clump of forest to another, to sort out disputes, and caress each other in peace if no danger threatens. In India too, 3 fire energies are the rising, the midday and the setting sun. We are in Sri Lanka, a very old world where millennia of civilizations have followed one another, where 600 years before Christ the young Buddha showed man the paths to happiness. In the Polonnaruwa Reserve, we travel back in time to find our last monkey of fire. In this Eden, you meet the serpents of creation. But here, the reptiles are dominated. Here, the ruler is the monkey, a monkey containing all 3 elements of fire, the macaque with a hat. In Sri Lanka, this monkey has been respected for several centuries. For the people here, it is the respect which man owes to the animal from which he descends. The human spirit escaped from the body of the monkey, just as, at the foot of the tree of illumination, the Buddha found release from the cage of an imperfect body. This privileged monkey has the vital energy of the tamarin of Brazil, the distinction of the gelada of Africa, and the deep melancholy of the uakari. The society of the macaques with hats is like a former human kingdom, with its imperfections, particularly its sense of inequality, as individuals are divided into ruling classes and serfs. Inequality in eating and drinking. When a group arrives at an interesting place like a pond, the dominant class drinks first, and then the others. If food abounds, all eat their fill. If not, the serfs tighten their belts. This rule even applies to females who have children to feed. If a subordinate female finds rice, for example, she will not take any, even if she is hungry, but will wait until a dominant has eaten. Even death strikes according to rank. The serfs, weakened, more prone to disease and less able to defend themselves, die before the others. Inequality between the sexes, too. From adolescence, the males dominate the females who are only half their size. Baby rulers are fed much better than their serf brothers. Stronger, protected by their mother, they are sheltered from reprisals and have a privileged life as long as their mothers are alive. The small tuft of hairs that this monkey has on the top of his head, different from one individual to another, is what gives it its name of the macaque with a hat. Gently and deftly, the small expert hands look for the parasites which live in their fur. Concentration is required. Delousing, also called grooming, is the game all monkeys prefer. In macaques with hats, this activity is a true ritual. Marked, as all their species, by the distinction between ruler and serf, you do not delouse just anyone, and you delouse even if you would prefer to sleep off lunch. However, in one area, all macaques are equal. When they meet an animal stronger than they are, man and man's scalpels. In antiquity already, Greek scientists dissected them instead of human corpses. Then someone realized that the macaques were easy to keep in a cage, and for the last 2 centuries, they have been captured on a very large scale for medical experiments. Today, macaques with hats from Sri Lanka are no longer trapped for vivisection. They are born and raised in laboratories where their numbers remain confidential. A mathematical problem. How much does a monkey weigh, knowing that one can never get just one monkey onto a balance? In Polonnaruwa, scientists focus on macaques. They have been weighed by attracting them with rice. All sorts of calculations and statistics have followed. And it was finally recognized that these animal castes were strictly comparable with the Hindu castes of old, where equality found its balance after the Buddha came out of his cage to the foot of the tree of illumination and brought the castes together to invite them to transcend their barriers. The sanctuary of Polonnaruwa is vital for the survival of these monkeys in the wild. A very unique place. The forest is always green, despite droughts lasting 4 to 5 months every year. Here, the macaques with hats are protected. The only threat is the black market. This still exists. One day, behind a tree like this one, a monkey is clubbed, put in a bag, and awakes to a life of grimaces. In the society of man, where everything is for sale, it will have to earn its meager living. Our children learn that the man descends from the monkey, but have already forgotten the ancestral traditions which made him the instructor of mankind, so that we learn how to lift our eyes and hearts ever higher towards the fire of heaven. And what does the monkey think about that? For him, each fire is a sunset. As the population explosion continues, undergrowth fires already symbolize the destruction of the forest. Other fires are caused by the greenhouse effect. As a result, we destroy 15 million hectares of forests every year, and our brothers, the monkeys, the living history of nature, disappear forever. That's what happens when you play with fire. monkeys have been tamed, used, caged, and even massacred by their closest relation, man. But Buddha, who wanted to meet all the animals of creation when he awakened, gave the monkey pride of place in the astrological calendar. Every monkey is associated with one of the three primal elements: fire, earth, and water. Monkeys born under the sign of water have rounded shapes. They are lithe, patient, calm, and indolent, and their life drifts by like a stream. Several monkeys from Southeast Asia have water signs. One of them is the Pongo pygmaeus, which lives in the rainforests of Borneo. It is the only large monkey in Asia, and today one of the best-known primates in the world. The Indonesians, who deeply respect this animal, quite simply call it the orangutan, the man of the woods. Every morning, the man of the woods leaves his feeding and rest trees and descends into the surrounding marshland to cool off, drink, and wash. Orangutans stand out in a crowd. Adult males particularly have amazing all-black faces, larynx pouches under their chins, and odd protuberances on their cheeks, facial discs, which appear when they become adult. Apparently, they really pull the girls. The most beautiful Indonesian nature park, Tanjung Puting, is very dense, very green, absolutely unique and very difficult to penetrate due to the sublime chaos of rivers flowing through the palm groves and banyan trees. The forest is too wet to explore on foot. So we took a dugout canoe to follow two scientists looking for another primate, the proboscis monkey or nose ape. Proboscis monkeys really enjoy this amphibious universe. The magnificent marshland of Borneo is probably its only habitat anywhere on Earth. Every day, at the end of the afternoon, the monkeys leave the depths of the forest and climb into the huge trees along the riverbank, where they sleep. Mummy proboscis monkey utters a short, piercing scream, what scientists call a proximity scream, to keep in contact with the rest of the family. Like other monkeys, proboscis monkeys use their afternoon siestas to take care of their personal hygiene, a delicate operation which consists in removing parasites from the fur of other tribe members. Parasite removal is, of course, a fundamental rule of hygiene, but it is also a social action, a type of solidarity which strengthens group bonding. Turn by turn, the monkey being groomed becomes the groomer. Monkeys only feel safe in treetops. There they sit, peacefully, in a virtually human position. Usually they do not spend much time on the ground. They know that down there, creepers make walking difficult and that their main predator, leopards, are lurking under the trees. Unlike the female, which has a slightly turned-up, pointed nose, male proboscis monkeys are a combination of Tarzan and Cyrano de Bergerac. Twice as heavy as the females, they have huge, pendulous, boneless noses which do not seem to serve any useful biological purpose at all. In fact, the wonder nose gets in the way when they eat and has to be pushed aside. Basically, proboscis monkeys eat protein-rich shoots and young leaves, but they also enjoy some fruit seeds and succulent caterpillars. Their stomachs are very odd, more like those of ruminants like cows, and they can digest leaves much more easily than most primates. They use their stomachs as bags to store large quantities of leaves, which they then regurgitate as required. This keeps them safe in dangerous picking sites, as they can run for their favorite trees whenever threatened by leopards and chew the cud in peace. Proboscis monkeys have two other predators, man and crocodiles. For a long time, the natives of Borneo hunted them for their skin, reputed to have medicinal properties. Apparently, many crocodiles also believed that proboscis monkey hearts were the best remedy for their diseases too. Fact or fable, crocodiles, which abound in the region, really enjoy eating monkeys. They lay ambushes for them hidden in the reed beds. But proboscis monkeys are not only very cautious, but they're excellent swimmers too. They've developed an extremely effective strategy for crossing rivers with the least possible risk. They begin by observing the ripples on the surface of the water attentively, and then all dive in together, creating sufficient confusion to deceive the enemy. As the banks are flooded most of the year, our crew members have to stand up in water up to their thighs to film the monkeys living on these sandbanks. So as not to frighten them, we camouflaged the cameras in floating hides and then sat down to wait. In the forests of Borneo, afternoon rests are sometimes disturbed by a curious noise that scientists call the kiss squeak. This is the noise orangutans make when feeling anxious. Young orangutans who have recently left their mothers are brimful of energy. They climb ropes, turn cartwheels, push each other around and nibble at each other. They even punch each other quite hard. In monkey country, games and grooming are the most important social events. Games are also a very important part of the learning process and preparation for life as an adult. Forest monkeys play, but in some ways they are wiser than people living in cities. Monkeys know where to go to pick fruit season by season. They recognize different shades of green and distinguish different kinds of noise made by the water, the lapping of ripples, the battering of typhoon rainstorms, and the patter of drops from the bamboo. City dwellers have forgotten just how precious forests are. Much of Indonesia lives with and around water, an extremely vulnerable universe which is disappearing as the trees have felled. This monkey, leaping from branch to branch, is the crested leaf monkey. It lives in the mangroves of Borneo and on Java, another island in the archipelago. They will do anything to eat the food they prefer. Jump over a cliff, walk on palm frond tight ropes and plunge from a tree branch diving board. Java leaf monkeys are extremely light, under 8 kilos in weight. In fact, although these monkeys seem to munch their way through the day, they are actually rather choosy about their food. In the old Java plantations, they only condescend to eat the central ribs of teak tree leaves. They eat flowers, fruit, and especially very tender young leaves which they devour as quickly as possible, perhaps because they're worried they will disappear. As these foodstuffs do not supply enough energy, leaf monkeys have to snack between meals. Looking for food is an extremely time-consuming all-day occupation, which doesn't leave much room for developing social relationships with other leaf monkeys. Java leaf monkeys are recognizable by their odd hairstyle, like a crown or a wig over their heads, and by the glossy black fur that Asian astrology associates with water. This fur only grows after 4 or 6 months. Baby monkey's fur is orange. Leaf monkeys are treated with a lot of respect by people in Java who call them the lutang. If you believe tradition, they are the descendants of Lutang Kasaron, a black monkey who became a prince. Unless, of course, it was the other way round. Because on this island, which is full of stories of spectres and apparitions, these black monkeys are also thought to be ghosts. They are shaped like animals during the day, but return as human beings on some very specific nights. Phantoms or not, leaf monkeys are good omens sacred to the Javanese. Only the Dukan Pruwangan and other wizards fully understand their powers. Orangutans from Borneo are even more solitary than Java leaf monkeys. Adult males particularly lead a hermitic life in the kingdom of the trees. They don't even mix socially. And if they meet another male intent on entering their territory, a fight often breaks out and ends with deep wounds to the forehead. Females are much less intolerant. They're also less solitary. They have their first baby at about the age of 14, which remains by their side until a small brother or a small sister arrives. During this time, the infants learn to use their hands to tap, touch, tear and twist, all the manipulations which will help them survive on their own in the huge Tanjung Puting forest. Adult males wounded in fights often dispel their anger by violently shaking branches. Nowadays, we know exactly what the man of the woods eats. In the morning, he prefers juicy, sugary fruit like figs, mangoes and lychees, which he picks in the 600 species of trees in Tanjung Puting. There is everything he wants. This fruit comprises 2/3 of his food intake. In the afternoon, he moves on to more solid fare like bark and nuts, which he scrapes and crushes easily in his powerful jaws. You have to be extremely patient and ingenious to observe orangutans in their private lives. If old males will allow you to approach them quite closely without overreacting, this is not true of the females who find it more difficult to accept the presence of human beings. To observe their daily activities, like picking fruit or building sleeping nests, we had to perch with our cameras in the treetops, just like them. Baby orangutans like to grip their mother's belly or sides. Even as tiny infants, they know how to grip onto the fur. At the beginning, they seem to prefer the belly, but this position is not very comfortable and hampers mother orangutan's movements. At around 3 months, they discover an alternative, the left side. And a little later, will opt for another place, the back. In that position, they look in the same direction as mum when moving. Another monkey shares the territory of the orangutan, the gibbon, easily recognizable with white eyebrows, very specific vocal exercises, and an extremely smooth motion. Gibbons spend most of their time in the trees. They're as much at home there as a fish in water. They swing from branch to branch with their strong arms. This type of motion is called brachiation. Hanging from the strongest shoots, they pick up their food with one hand and move forward with the other to slide along trunks for speed through the thick leaves on the top of the trees. Their technique is extremely gracious and well practiced. Gibbons are dedicated vegetarians. They only eat fruit which they choose extremely carefully. Unlike most monkeys, which basically eat green fruit, gibbons like ripe, pulpy Borneo forest fruit rich in vitamins and energy. They pick them extremely delicately between their thumbs and index fingers and never damage unripe berries. No traffic jams in sight, no tailbacks. Today, traveling is easy. The people who live in Borneo, who have made their island an enchanted world peopled with gods and legendary creatures, say that gibbons are the good spirits of the forest and that they have the power to influence the destiny of people. If they have such an exalted place in Indonesian imaginations, it is that they are so similar to men. They can stand upright extremely straight and do not have tails. Their faces are expressive too. Orangutans are not as lithe as gibbons. They weigh around 90 kilograms and stand 1.40 meters high, which make them the largest fruit-eating tree dwellers on the planet. While the parents use their powerful arms to tear off the bark from branches for stocking up on insects, termites and mushrooms, children have fun hanging upside down or gripping their mother's back firmly. In the forest of Borneo, evening rain is often a downpour. But orangutans are not caught out. They know how to keep dry in showers by covering their heads and shoulders with any umbrellas that come to hand. Scientists say that chimpanzees manipulate tools better than orangutans, but they seem to be able to do everything they need to with branches and bits of wood, like Boy Scouts. They even pole jump wide streams. The men of the woods sleep about 12 hours, from 6 in the evening to 6 in the morning. As they rarely sleep 2 nights in the same tree, they have to start preparing a new sleeping nest as soon as night falls. They make their nest quite quickly. It's true that orangutans really know what they're doing and that forests are their universe. They begin by choosing an extremely strong fork. Then they select thick branches, break them, and lay them down to form a sleeping platform which they cover with soft, leafy fronds. Soon the little man of the woods falls asleep, but the magicians are waiting and steal his spirit while he is slumbering. Balinese dancers, who are magicians in their own right, bring the monkey people to life to repel the forces of evil, and particularly Barong, the dragon. The only being able to brave the obstacles and pacify the dragon is the orangutan. An eminent strategist and wily diplomat, he is in fact extremely clever at many things, like all monkeys born under the sign of water. Whatever the difficulties, he always falls on his feet. Clowns, disguised as macaque monkeys, implore the protection of the king of the forest. After a few intimidating stances, the orangutan restores harmony and the monkey kingdom continues to sleep in peace. As this young orangutan awakes, the time for fairy tales is over. The men of the cities have changed and have become a serious threat to the monkeys. Opening up roads and clearings, cutting down trees and the undergrowth, making new fields in the marshlands and burning the woodlands have led to the wholesale destruction of the primeval forest of Borneo. Over the years, the monkeys have seen their habitat shrink like a sponge squeezed dry. This process is particularly catastrophic as no other place in the world contains such a diversity of flora and fauna. Now we leave the marshy lands of the peninsula for another island country, Japan. In samurai country, landscapes are dominated by the mountains. Sacred mountains covered with a white mantle of snow wait for the cherry trees to flower again. There, in the depths of the forest, live the gods of water, the driving forces of nature. This is the habitat of the famous Japanese macaque monkey, the most northerly monkey on the planet. The monkeys are excited by the film shoot. They come out whatever the temperature, extremely low at this time of year, even if their paws sink into the snow as they walk. Curious, they peer at the man and his camera. Northern monkeys are not fierce, in fact they're so tame they visit people's houses. At an altitude of 1500 meters, the temperature gets down to -20 degrees Celsius. Luckily, in this volcanic region, there are many warm springs which surface at over 43 degrees Celsius on the Shiga Plateau and the flanks of Mount Hakusan. The villagers collect the hot water in small stone basins to heat their homes and thaw the roads. One day, a young monkey decided to dive into a basin of water to warm himself up. Now the whole monkey colony comes to laze the day away in comfort. Scientists who specialize in the behavior patterns and abilities of primates are extremely interested in this phenomenon, as it shows the amazing ability of monkeys to adapt to their environment. Monkeys use the springs to warm up, wash and groom. As you see them like this, with their heads surrounded by a halo of frost, it's easy to imagine the misogi, the scrupulous ablutions by which the Japanese purify themselves for seasonal rites. In the traditional calendar, winter is called the season of water. At the most, Japanese monkeys only weigh 3 or 4 kilograms. Their grey and tawny fur is much more abundant than other macaque monkeys, essential for survival in this rigorous climate. Only females have the privilege of seeing their babies' small pink faces turn bright red at the age of 4. Japanese macaques have very short tails. This was not always the case. If you believe the legend, their tails used to be much longer. In fact, so long that they used to use them as fishing rods. But one very cold winter's day, the stream suddenly froze and their tails were caught in the ice. The monkeys pulled with all their strength and their tails tore off. Since that time, it's said, Japanese monkeys have red faces, as their ancestors had huffed and puffed so much trying to pull their tails out of the ice. During the long snow-filled months, food is very rare and limited to a few leaves, twigs, and meager pieces of bark. This fiber-based diet is difficult to digest and not rich enough to enable macaques to survive the cold. Before the end of autumn, they have to build up reserves of fruit, grain, and seeds for the coming winter. For many years, monkeys were central to Japanese civilization. They were venerated because they incarnated wisdom and detachment, and also as messengers to the gods. Monkey tamers used to get them to dance and do good omen tricks to bring good fortune and make springs run from the earth. Only monkeys could restore the moon's brightness when it was covered by cloud. Only monkeys could make it rain treasure from heaven, strengthen the young crops in the fields, ensure plentiful harvests and bring joy and happiness to mankind, and sacks of rice for everyone for 1,000 autumns and 1,000 years. During a rough ramble through the snow-filled forest, we discovered the mountain trees where, every evening after leaving the hot springs of the Singe plateau, the monkeys go to sleep, safe from predators. Scientists have observed that the monkeys have two kinds of sleep patterns. Before midnight, they drowse rather than sleep, scattered apart in the trees and nibble the bark from time to time. After midnight, they huddle together to keep themselves warm. They don't really build nests, but come together as small groups of 4 or 5 monkeys. And then we had another surprise. Our vehicle had disappeared in a deep snowdrift. Had the monkeys played one of their roguish tricks on us? It took the film crew several hours to find the car in a 4-meter thick snowdrift. Change of direction. Our adventure in monkey country now took us to the extreme south of Japan, an extremely fertile region with a subtropical climate. Scientists have been observing the lifestyle of another colony of macaque monkeys there since 1950. The colony is on a tiny island partially covered with forest called Monkey Island in the Kyushu archipelago. Southern macaques have a much easier life than their cousins in the north. Temperatures down here are very mild. Today there is a light breeze, but that doesn't stop them having a beach party, spending all day lazing in the sun and splashing in the waves. Macaque monkeys usually live in clans of 30 to 40 in an extremely well-defined hierarchical structure. Their society is matriarchal. Females stay in the group in which they are born, whereas the males leave the group when they are 4 and live on the outskirts. Adult males are guardians of tradition, resisting innovation like true samurais. This behavior has been observed many times. For example, whenever young macaques develop new techniques for cleaning corn seeds, eating fish, or washing sweet potatoes. The technique called washing sweet potatoes dates back to the beginning of the 1950s. An 18-month female had noticed, quite by chance, that it was easier to get rid of sticky sand on the outside of sweet potatoes if they were dipped in a stream. Very quickly, all the members of the group imitated her invention. But what was even more surprising was that the scientists were studying the behavior of monkeys in 2 very different islands and communicating with each other by radio. They had the idea of depositing sweet potatoes on the sand to see if the monkeys would wash them before eating them. In both the islands, 90 kilometers apart, the scientists observed the same phenomenon. The whole colony set off for the stream apart from one monkey which galloped down to the sea clutching a sweet potato. An instant later, he was joined by the other members of the group who discovered that sweet potatoes dipped in seawater are extremely tasty. These days, the macaque monkeys in the Kyushu Islands and those in the hot streams are protected, but most other monkeys are not. Many are the victims of mankind as, despite our good intentions, we use them for all kinds of experiments. Monkeys are sometimes used to amuse the public as they can be taught all sorts of pirouettes, acrobatics, as well as to smoke cigarettes, dress up as cowboys, walk on stilts and ride bicycles. But bike riding is comparatively enjoyable, particularly if you know you're going to get a good bath once you finish. And as everything in the world of man has a price, you have to work very hard to merit preferential treatment. But in Japan, this is not a new phenomenon. Since the 16th century, tamers have been training monkeys to make these animals as knowledgeable and wise as it is possible to be. Circus acts are nothing to the experiments research laboratories run on monkeys all the time. Trapped and shipped, often in atrocious conditions, imprisoned in tiny cages, connected up to cameras and electrodes, they are forced to take part in interminable tests designed to measure their cerebral functions and skills. But what is the purpose of inflicting these tests today? Anyone who has seen monkeys in their natural habitat knows how skillful and clever they are, able to adapt to their environment, eat balanced diets, and live in peace in their small colonies. And as if electric shocks were not enough, monkeys are used in clinical trials too. Many laboratories continue to import and breed monkeys with the single purpose of removing their vital organs or inoculating them with infectious diseases. Every year, in industrialized countries, thousands of animals are used to test new drugs. In fact, the fate of monkeys hasn't really changed over the years since they were sculpted for one of Bali's 13,000 temples. They are still imprisoned. After being hunted for their fur and their flesh, after being exploited as unpaid labor, they are now the victims of barbaric and inhuman sciences which sacrifice them to supply mankind with often meaningless remedies for very marginal diseases. Perhaps mankind's greatest challenge today is to conserve this huge laboratory we have inherited from our ancestors. All these forests, savannas and islands where monkeys roam free, whether they be born under the signs of earth, fire or water. Conserving and protecting their last sanctuaries is the major challenge of this millennium.